Okay, moving on to example 2, it says for triangle LMN, what is measure of angle N? Now, that's the first task, and notice, looking at the three sides, we have side, side, side information given. So side, 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 again, make sure you identify every time what you know so that you're basing your decision. I'm going to use this technique because of this information. So if I get side angle side or side, 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 I'm going to use the law of cosines. When you have side, 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 you can very clearly establish this is the biggest side, which means this is the biggest angle. We never want to use law of sines to find the biggest angle. We only want to use law of cosines to do that. So if the biggest angles and law of cosines will get us the exact answer for n with no doubt that it's the right answer. Law of sines sometimes fails finding the biggest angle. So that's why we avoid that for biggest angle. Since I'm going to use this side to find this angle, again with law of cosines, it's number squared equals something else squared plus something else squared minus 2 times some stuff times cosine of the angle opposite. So since I'm using 17 over here, I'm using n over there. The other two sides are 15, so 15 squared goes here, 11.4 squared goes here, and 2 times 15 times 11.4. Okay. So that's how you set it up. Now, let me write that 11 a little bit better. There we go. So, the place people mess up is right here. This is a number, this is a number, this is a number times cosine of n. Be careful that we're multiplying all this stuff times this, and it all stays together as one term. So, you want to make sure when you're using law of cosines in a side, side, side scenario that this term here is protected from the rest of the problem. Nothing happens to that in relation to these things until we get to the division step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to square all these numbers. 17 squared is 289. 15 squared is 225. 11.4 squared, I don't know off the top of my head, so I'm going to type that in. That is 129.96. And then notice it's minus, positive, positive, positive cosine. So minus stays minus, and I simply have to multiply 2 times 15 times 11.4 to get the new number in front, which is 342. So 342 cosine of n. Now the point I'm making, and I hope I'm making it well, is that all this stuff is together. It doesn't interact with other stuff. So I've seen people do this, this, and they'll subtract that number and do weird stuff with it, but that 342 is attached to cosine of n, so keep that separate from everything else. I want to move the 225 over here, it becomes minus. I want to move the 129.96 over here, it becomes minus. So I'm moving everything over here that is not that term. So I'm going to have an equal sign here. It's negative, so I'm going to put negative 342 cosine of n. That guy just comes along for the ride, basically. And then over here, I need to evaluate all this stuff. Whatever it works out to is what it is. So 289 minus 225 minus 129.96. So it's negative 65.96. And just like the law of sines in the last problem that we dealt with, come back here real quick, where I had something times sine equals something, I divided to get sine equals a number. I'm going to do the same thing here. I've got something times cosine of n equals something. I want to divide by this number, negative 342, on both sides, to get what cosine of n is. So cosine of n all by itself equals, and I'm going to type in negative 65.96 divided by negative 342. Notice both numbers are negative, so the end result is a positive quotient, 0.1929. So to get what n is, cosine of n equals that, so n is going to be cosine inverse of 0.1929. And again, be very careful. This is cosine negative 1. On your calculator like this, you hit second cosine 0.1929. on your Google calculator, you'll type in inverse cosine 0.1929. Again, we're in degrees. It spits out a degree answer, 78.88. You'll notice that this calculator is also 78.88, the same answer, but whatever technique, whatever technology you have at your home, use the right technology to get the right answer. So 78.88. Okay. It says what is measure of angle n. It doesn't specify nearest tenth or anything. Let's just pretend it did that, say that though. So measure of angle n equals 78.9 degrees. In my work, I'm going to put 78.88 degrees because that's more accurate. Now, it says use law of sines to find measure of angle L. Now, it could have just easily said find measure of angle M. Doesn't matter which one you find next. We've already found the biggest angle, so the other two angles are not the biggest, so law of sines will find either one of them very easily. If I'm going to have to use this angle we know with this side we know for one side of the law of sines, let's do that real quick. So it's going to be 17 over sine of 78.88. And I'm trying to find measure of angle L, so I want to know this angle here, which is opposite this right here. So I'm going to say measure of angle L over, oh sorry, that's not right. Side measure on top, 11.4 on top, and then sine, let's go sine of L. All right, so side over sine of opposite angle equals side over sine of opposite angle. So again, that's the law of sines in action. And once again, my calculator knows things. Sine of 78.88 is 0.9812. I'm going to cross multiply here. So this product, 17 times sine of L, should equal 11.4 times 0.9812. That's just this product here. That's 11.1857, which means divide both sides by 17. Sine of L comes out to 11.1857 divided by 17, 0.6580, which means measure of angle L should be the inverse sine. Notice this was cosine equal, so we did inverse cosine. To find measure of angle, I'm going to do inverse sine. And whatever trig function is present in your problem, that's what inverse trig function you're going to do. So inverse sine of 0.6580 comes out to an angle measure of 41.15 degrees. And if I'm going one decimal place there also, so measure of angle L, put that over here, is 41.2 degrees. And then final step is to find the measure of angle M. So if I add these two angles up, 78.9 plus 41.2, we get 120.1. The measure of angle M plus 120.1 should equal 180. Move the 120.1 over. Borrow. 10 minus 1 is 9. 9 minus 0 is 9. 7 minus 2 is 5. So measure of angle M is 59.9 degrees. So law of cosines is side squared equals the other two sides squared minus 2 times the product of those two sides, cosine of the angle opposite whatever this side is. And again, it's got three pieces here. They all say the same thing. The only difference is what goes where. So A, B, B, C, C. The other two sides come over here on this side. So you have it in your possession. Again, you should have copied this down before. But just apply the law of cosines and follow the algebra correctly to get through the problem.